Kingdoms rise and empires crumble, and the knowledge and wisdom from past ages are lost to the foggy ruins of time. But for genuine seekers of truth, one place stands alone on a hill. Shining brightly in the darkness, you, dear listener, have reached the Hidden Citadel.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Monkey Investigates. Let's see if we can get Monkey to come visit us. Monkey, would you like a treat? Would you like to investigate this? Oh, here he comes, people. There he is. Say hi to the people, Monkey. Say hi. Have a treat while you're doing it. Hey, today on Monkey Investigates, we are going to investigate an old episode that we posted 5 months ago about the moon. And the reason I'm interested in this is you want another one, Monkey? I think you deserve another one. You're a good boy. And these are good for you. I just watched a video about the book of Enoch and how a lot of people for the longest time thought that the moon passages in Enoch were stupid, and that's why a lot of people voted to leave Enoch out of the Bible. But what they're finding is that science pretty much is confirming that the moon passages are actually accurate, and so are the deep sea passages that are in the book of Enoch. And so I thought it would be interesting to kind of reinvestigate this episode of the Hidden Citadel. This one is from the Hidden Citadel archive collection. It's entitled "The Moon Hollow?" And what type of cheese is the moon made from? So let's find a spot and jump on in.
So getting past, he had three basic levels: sensory motor stage, concrete operational, formal operational. Those are 3 stages of maturity. By the way, it's so funny that a lot of our educational systems and educational and developmental theories come from Piaget, and he had no real science that he based it on. He basically was watching his grandchildren in his living room and developed this theory based on just observation of his own kids. So it's like,
really,
at least Freud or Skinner, the developmental levels of a lot of these theorists have some science behind it. This guy is just like, little Jimmy over there doesn't know where the keys are, even though I put him right in front of him. So, but in order to get past your sensory motor stage, you have to have something called object permanence, which you just have to believe something beyond, the sight of something. You have to know it exists despite what you're watching might not be. So, like if you put the keys in front of them, and then you cover up the keys, are the keys still there? Yes, but they just don't exist. They exist. You have to believe that they're there beyond your sight. So a kid without object permanence is still in the sensory motor stage and will not. So it feels that way with flat earthers. It's like, well, I can just see it. Yeah, but do you believe that there's a globe and you understand the physics of how things all work? Right. Yeah, I don't see it. Like, well, then you're in sensory motor stage of Piaget's theory.
Well, in all fairness, what was it, Piaget?
Yeah, Jean Piaget.
In all fairness, there are a lot of philosophers that we don't really know where they got their philosophies from.
Well, Satan, we know they're from Satan, so
yeah, some of them might be, but it's like they don't necessarily spell out. I was sitting on the couch, watching the dog over in the corner, and then all of a sudden I got a brainstorm about how the brain operates or whatever, and it's like, just because he got the idea from watching his grandkids doesn't necessarily mean that he hadn't spent 60 years observing everybody else too.
Well, that is the only record of his science that we have.
Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, You're right. There might be a whole litany of his observations. There's no evidence of that. Like it's almost kind of like John Nelson Darby may have had a bunch of years and years of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm going to wait until the 50s, 70s. Why did he come up with that? Or the
John Nelson Darvis was in the 1840s.
1840s? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Well, whatever he was.
His ideas, and then
Harpazo.
Schofield jumped, after him onto everything else. We probably need to do a Rapture episode too. It's like, so we got zombies, we've got flat Earth, we've got the Rapture. We haven't done the flat Earth yet, but we did do an episode on the Rapture. We did 2 episodes on the pre-trib Rapture and why it's not true. And we also did an episode on zombies for my student Stanley. Shout out to Stanley. And so, yes, we've done that. And a lot of times we ramble before we get to the actual topic that we're talking about. So we'll put those back on the back burner for some other time. But today we're talking about weird moon mysteries. And I guess the first one on my list is the hollow moon theory. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, you and I have talked about it.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting because Enoch describes the moon as being hollow. And then we find out from NASA years later that the moon actually is probably hollow to a certain extent.
Not much about it other than it feels like it falls in line with a lot of our other theories when it comes to that, that there's evidence of things within, where we've had cities, where we've had a lot of different kinds of things.
What I find interesting about the hollow moon theory is that it kind of... I also want to make a little statement. I try to chop out all of my heavy breathing whenever I go and edit these. Sometimes I miss it. I'm not breathing heavy because I'm like, okay, Greg's talking again. I'm breathing heavy because I'm just naturally a heavy breather. And I hope people don't ever get that impression. Fits in with the idea of the world, what is it? The world was without, or became without
form and void.
And void. And it's like, okay, if we didn't have the moon, we would have a lot of chaos and destruction on the earth. And so it's kind of like, if God destroyed everything that was on the earth at one point and then created a moon and put it in its place, then it's like that would be an apt... And also in Genesis, it isn't until, the 3rd day? That the moon is created, and it's like, well, that's a very strange thing, because, I mean, it seems like with all this other stuff that's existing on the earth, to make the moon at a different point would be kind of an odd thing, unless God is recreating and stabilizing the earth, and he's putting things into a position to where, okay, I'm going to put this object in the sky that's going to protect the earth from, a lot of asteroids impacting it. It's going to regulate the tides. It's going to allow seasons to exist.
Yeah.
And I mean, we didn't have the moon, none of that would be possible. And the seasons would fluctuate so quickly, kind of like they do on Mars, that it's like, the moon really does an awful lot. The other thing that's really weird about the moon is that there are ancient testimonies from the Greeks and the Zulu and several other places where people said, oh yeah, there's a time period that we remember before the moon existed. And I don't know if the dates are right, but everybody I researched that talked about this said that it all kind of goes back to the Younger Dryas period. and that's when they say that's when the moon came into existence.
Never does.
Thank you, Randall Carlson.
He's the best. He needs a lozenge, but he's the best.
He needs a lozenge. He definitely does. So, if these things are true, and the moon was put there at some point, then, I think it kind of fits with a biblical understanding. Now, if you're a young creationist and you think it was all made at the same time, then that's not going to fit too well with your thinking. But I mean, it doesn't shake my. If they found out the moon was hollow and had been placed there at some point, I don't think that would shake my, faith one little bit.
No, and two things. One, I think Stanley is a young creationist, and two, when something is specified in the Bible, then there's meaning to it. Like, if it's just peoples or general time or whatever, you kind of like or a measurement that's an approximate or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it, you go, okay, that's something. But I mean, he made the moon and said it has a function at night. And to your point, it's really interesting because it's supposed to be a light at night, I think, in Genesis, correct? So, and light is not just a single defined vocabulary term. It has
True.
The light of things creates order. The light of things has power. The light of the earth, let there be light. There's a sense that it's not just it. And I think even the term was to govern. So I mean, it has, and to govern something is to have oversight, is to have protection, is to have to create order and to allow other things within it to be safely flourishing. Right. And so, there's a to that that it's just not just he threw it in there and let it go. It is very, very functional. I remember seeing I can't remember the guy. It was one of the guys at Joe Rogan talking about how weird the moon is, uniquely weird, because it has a measurement that's unlike any other kind of satellitic presence outside of one of the major planets. Its measure, its size, its function, where it is in relation to the Earth. It is so unique. There's no other combination like Batman and Robin that other planets have. They might have little moons or whatever, but
they do have a lot of them have moons, but they're not so precise that you have eclipses.
Exactly, that's the thing. Yeah, it is so precise. Exactly.
It's I think they call it the rule of 400, where it's like I wrote it. It's in my notes somewhere here. It's 400 miles or something away, and then a multiple of 400 is how much it is from the sun, or something like that. You could look this up, but anyway, it's basically it's in such a perfect position to where you can have eclipses, and then that's part of the whole system of knowing when to plant crops and how to understand astronomy and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I mean, it goes along with our Mazzaroth thing where all that stuff seemed to be. Have you figured it out, Monkey? Is that what you're trying to tell me? I think you're especially hanging out more than you normally do, but you must be interested in the moon episode. And out really precisely by God so that we could have life on this planet. And like, I know that a lot of people like to jump onto the Anunnaki bandwagon, which has been thoroughly debunked, but it's like,
it's silly.
Why can't you just understand that yes, we did have a God, a supreme being, somebody that had great intelligence and designed everything, and he did plan all this out? Why does it have to be some great race of alien overlords or whatever that did it? Why can't it be a benevolent, merciful God?
I gotta tell you, I really like the Anunnaki. I don't like how they're supposed to be, the theory of where they're positioned, but I really want there to be Anunnaki.
It's like my favorite quote from the Citadel.
Not in the as a lineage thing for Christianity or Judaism, or have any, but I want them to just kind of be there,
somewhere existing.
Somewhere, So, the Nephilim fighting them, maybe, zombies fighting them. I don't care.
Yeah, somebody should fight them.
Someone should fight them. It's a fun word to say. It feels like something, on a hibachi menu. I'll have the Anunnaki.
It does. It does sound like something you could get at a nice Italian restaurant.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of a cannoli. Would you like a cannoli or an Anunnaki?
I would like the Anunnaki, please.
I would take the Anunnaki, but can I get like some chocolate sauce on it?
I would. It feels silly. I think it would.
Yeah, but it has sort of a lizardy texture to it.
Yeah. I just think they're just kind of. I feel like right out of D&D. Like it's just. I want them to. I don't want them to be in the position people put them in.
I think they should be the inner Earth dwellers.
I want them to be on North Sentinel Island. I want that to be. That would be cool.
Oh, because and we just did an episode that came out recently on North Sentinel Island, which is one of Greg's favorite mysteries, and you can check that out on this channel somewhere. I'll try to remember to put a link to it below.
Sitting out there.
Just waiting.
And people are coming to that island going, here, you want some bananas? They're like, we are going to shoot you up.
Yep.
You're going to be a pin
Sink
cushion.
Your ship, buddy.
Yeah. They're like, we're just here for missions. We're like, we're the Anunnaki.
Yeah,
we don't need your missions.
Missionize us.
Yeah, get back to Nyack University.
Yeah, right.
Your alliances. Get out of here.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I know. That's because the Anunnaki.
Sad. They took it down. Yeah.
It's on North Sentinel Island right now.
Oh man, I think it was more like the strange liberalism that creeped in is what took it out more than the Anunnaki.
Nyack is wild.
Well,
Nyack is like Austin, only just a slight bit witchier.
Just a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little more. No, I don't know if I don't know if it's slightly more witchier.
Really?
Like Austin,
I know, Austin's weird.
Austin had some pretty weirdness.
I feel like Nyack, every other story you're dealing with crystals and
well, that's true. It wasn't quite like that when I lived there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was more like, just a psychedelic hippie place or something back then, but
music stores and
last time I went in there I was like, oh gosh, yeah, it really has kind of
it's all the incense
gone occult. Yeah. I don't know, it's really strange. I like Nyack, but it needs help. I would imagine there's some Hollow Moon and Hollow Earth people there, though, in Nyack that would probably appreciate this episode.
Yeah. Hallowed be their name. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So somebody said that when NASA did the tests for the moon missions, that when they struck the moon's surface, seismometers recorded that it, quote, rang like a bell. And so they have this idea that, well, there must be big internal caverns or possibly a big hollow spaces in the moon for that to happen. But what's really strange about the moon is it's got a lot of, like, aluminum is naturally occurring on the moon.
Wow.
Well, we have to make aluminum, and then there's, like, Neptunium and some other kind of uranium naturally occurs on the moon that it doesn't occur on Earth like that. And then there's also the weird fact, which that brings up the question to me, if the theory that the moon kind of split off from the Earth at some point and is formed that way, how could it have naturally occurring aluminum and Neptunium and all this stuff? It just seems like those materials would naturally be on the Earth too somewhere. That all of the craters are basically the same depth all over the moon. And you're like, well, wait a minute. If a crater hits any other planet, if it's a big asteroid, it's going to make a big hole. If it's a little asteroid, it's going to make a little hole. But why is it that on the moon, you get these big, wide holes, but they're only like, so thick, and then you got little ones and they're the same thickness? It's like it's a really strange thing that all of the craters only go down a certain depth, and that's it.
That's really strange. I've never heard that.
It's incredibly strange.
Yeah.
And it's like, so what they speculate is, well, maybe whatever the surface of the moon is, it's such a hard, dense shell of material that when something hits it, it
reacts all the same way.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, if you throw a baseball up against a steel plate, you're not going to do that much damage to the steel plate. And if you put, like, let's say you take a bowling, let's go back to our baseball, but let's say you cover the steel plate, you put it on the ground, you cover it with a layer of dirt, you drop the baseball down, it's going to leave a certain circle the size of the baseball onto the steel plate, but it's not going to go through the steel plate. Until maybe you take a bigger ball, like a bowling ball, and you drop it on the steel plate. It'll make a bigger circle, but it's not going to penetrate through the steel plate either. And so that's what they're looking at with the moon, and it's like, well, how can that be? But yet they see it over and over and over that a lot of the craters are functionally the same depth.
Well, okay. So you know what's interesting about that? So it sounds like it sounds like the moon or whatever it is about the gravity of the moon, whatever it is, it's not that whatever's coming at it impacts the moon. It sounds like the moon impacts whatever is coming at it and transforms it to all the same basically mass. And you know what I mean? So it's almost like the physics are such, in Earth, was it 9.8 meters per second squared? So, but the moon is like whatever's coming at it will come at it always at the same speed, having the same mass, and impact in such a way that it reacts the same way no matter if it's a feather or if it's a bowling ball. And
then the question is, where does the material go to?
Yeah.
Because let's say a big old asteroid comes in and it smashes right into the moon. Well, you would think just the mere... I know that Greg gets amused at my countryisms. He spent too much time in cities. The fact that something that big broke up, it would leave a debris field around the crater.
Oh, yeah.
That just the debris field itself would cause it to be a deeper crater than... So it's like, was it hitting the moon and rebounding back into space? And then so the moon dust that's on there is like just the portion of the particles that stay behind.
Yeah.
But yet we see things impacting into the moon all the time. That's why they have like these mysterious light flashes on the moon that have been noted ever since the time of the Greeks.
Yeah.
And the main explanation is, well, those are actually what do you call them? They're actually light flashes from the impact of different little meteors and things hitting the moon, or they're reflections off of like glassy surfaces where something's been like maybe something impacted it, heated it up, and made a little glass patch. Or it could be like the aluminum and silica in the moon dust that's like congregated in a place and it's causing the sun to flash off of it like a reflector. But that still doesn't explain why all the... somebody could say, well, there's no atmosphere on the moon, so over time, everything just eventually gets ground down to the same level. Like if we went back in time like 20,000 years or something and looked at it, maybe there would be bigger craters. But I'm like, that doesn't... I find that hard to believe, because I would have to think that there has been significant impacts with the moon in the last 10,000 years, I would think,
Yeah.
Because we know that we've had big impacts on Earth within the last, like, even 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Like whatever the thing that blew up, the meteor or whatever that blew up over Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's called the Tunguska event at time. That would be an example of one of those. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about some of these things.
It's really, it's really, I'm still, it does seem what you're talking about, even what you just said about when something impacts, it's almost obliterated. I think there's the word triterize, which is to make into fine powder, or triterate, not titrate, but triterate. I think it's triterate. And I think that's if you like a movie, try to rate it. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's to triterate. It's to cause to become fine powder. And I almost feel like I wonder if there's something. The moon has a power to it has a some
Maybe.
radiation. I don't know, has something that. Although, what would if we landed on the moon, that the contact with the moon would have obliterated the ship.
Let's talk about that next. So, all right. So before we jump into that can of worms, I would like to tell you about some of the things that you can go enjoy that are connected to the Hidden Citadel. We actually have aside from our podcast, we have a blog at hiddencitadel4.wordpress.com where you can go and read lots of articles. We do have a moon article up there. There's lots of articles about Nimrod and the Tower of Babel. There's mysteries like Bigfoot and cryptids, and all those things are over there on that blog. You can also, if you really like us, you can buy our books. We have a lot of books that we've written over the years that are on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. We also have a t-shirt or merch company at redbubble.com where you can check out all sorts of really cool stuff that we have produced, like our Eufy shirt, Evil Will Find You. Check out what we had to say about it in this commercial break.
Mysteries abound in this world. Who built the Great Pyramid or the Tower of Babel? Did Noah's flood interact with the timeline of the dinosaurs? If you are a fan of paranormal investigations, fringe history, and the downright mysterious, then the Hidden Citadel is the community for you. What is the Hidden Citadel? Every week, theologian Willy Minnix, psychologist Greg Kemp dive into biblical mysteries and unexplained phenomena that your Sunday school teacher was too afraid to tackle. We explore if Bigfoot is an interdimensional entity, a fairy, a djinn, or a gray-style extraterrestrial encounter, or perhaps elemental spirits serving the watchers, finishing the job the Nephilim started. From the megalithic ruins of Namedal and Pumapunku to the ancient engineering of Tiwanaku and Göbekli Tepe, we treat these archaeological enigmas as our home base. If you are brave, curious, and have an open mind for esoteric research, welcome to the Citadel. If you want to support our deep dives, check out the links to our exclusive gear below.
Hey, if you like that music, that was the Fantastic Flying Frogs, which is my surf rock band that I am a part of. And you can check out the Fantastic Flying Frogs on YouTube or Spotify or anywhere you want to listen to music. Greg has a band called the Brothers Graham, which is really good too, old time, just really good classic rock. And you can check them out too on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music and wherever you like to listen to your music. I did want to point out one little thing that I think is significant. We often refer to the Bible, we often refer to the book of Enoch, we often refer to the Septuagint and things like that. And a lot of people who are kind of new to these mysteries get a little overwhelmed and they don't know where to start looking to study into this stuff. And I would highly recommend starting with the Gospel of John. If you get to know Jesus, then he's kind of the key that unlocks a lot of these other mysteries. Even the way that Enoch is portrayed, or the way that Daniel talks about the Son of Man. If you first understand how Jesus uses that stuff to refer to himself, then when you go back and you read Daniel and you read Enoch, then it makes a lot of sense. So I would suggest start with the Gospel of John and then read the other Gospels, and then from there jump into books like Daniel or Revelation, but don't start with Revelation or Daniel or any of the really weird, hard to understand books. Start with Jesus first in John, and then work out from there. Anyway, back to the moon mysteries, and here we're going to get into the controversial, did we actually land on the moon idea. I want to address a couple things.
Here's the can of worms. Here's the can opener.
Stanley Kubrick here's the documentary was not Stanley Kubrick. That was some guy named Tom that looked like Stanley Kubrick that they hired.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to clarify and add to this. There is a famous documentary out there on the internet that you can watch, and it looks like somebody interviewing Stanley Kubrick, and he's talking about how it was all staged. But what we found out is that there is behind the scenes footage where this actor named Tom that looks like Stanley Kubrick is being coached through the whole thing, and he keeps getting his lines wrong, and it's actually kind of a funny outtake. But you can find that. I think the Y-Files they played the whole thing, and you can find that on the moon, the Did We Go to the Moon episode of the Y-Files, to impersonate Stanley Kubrick and talk about the moon landing and all that stuff. A lot of the things that they talk about with the moon landing seems to be easily explainable, but there are a few things that I look at that I'm like, well, that's kind of odd.
Yeah.
The first being, there are photographs in NASA's collection of things like the little crosshair on the camera, and then there will be things in front of the crosshair. And it's like, well, that's obviously a doctored picture, because you can't have something in front of the crosshair of the camera. And there's a few of those kind of pictures. Those are the things. We're going to pause there because we're running close to the end of our time here. Listen, if you like us, subscribe, tell your friends. We're a small channel, but we really want to reach people. And so please spread it around. If you are a Reddit person or X or something like that, we don't really do a whole lot over on those platforms. So if you would like to help us and you want to tell people about what we're doing, that would be really, really a helpful thing. And anyway, until next time, as Greg says, stay in the Citadel because night is coming.
The watchman replies, morning is coming, but night will soon return.